you also want a body tag for the body section. And if you do a slash body, it did it? I guess it was already lined up. So let's do body, background, green. There we go. See, that's what I was trying to do. Basically, showing that, let's see. You can change it on the fly with Codepen. So if we wanted this to be blue, there you go. It changes it in real time. Now I'm going to save this. Let's go ahead and do let's do question.js. Alright, well, this is your title, so it doesn't have to be. Yeah, we'll just do question. And I like doing adding an acronym in there. So we'll do OSCS. So that's my open source computer science. Basically my computer science tutorial. So we'll do OSCS question generator. So it's a very basic site. And also it doesn't have to be blue, green. When you're changing elements, let me go ahead and pull up that color picker. Oh wait, actually do that here. Oh geez, now you can see all my tabs and stuff. But color picker. Oh, this might actually make you lag because this is very laggy. Yeah, we'll suffer through it. So if you go to HTML color picker with W3 schools, this is what I was trying to explain. So whenever I develop a website or I'm doing a web project, this is what I use for my CSS. This is my definite go-to. So here you can just click through all these different colors. You can get all the different shades, variants, gradients, and you have the hexadecimal value for that right here. Now this is the most important part. So this, so when you're using CSS, you can use these values. So say I like this one. So 060 or 060, and yeah, this thing, yeah, you can tell it's causing everything to run really slowly. I also have like 50 other tabs for all my other projects going. I'm very lazy about that, but well, 060, we have that. We can also pull from the other ones. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Actually, I might have just frozen the computer. Oh, come on. Basically, anyways, I'll go ahead and talk. Let's go ahead and try to close this. There we go. Cool. The reason I say that, so if you do the # 006600, you'll get that green. See, there you go. And that's very similar to my tic-tac-toe. I like the darker olive greens. It's just easier on my eyes. That's actually project number 2 that I want to do. I don't know if I'll do it this episode. I want to try to keep this about an hour. I also have a thing going on at noon, a career thing with Full Stack Academy, the bootcamp company that I just did, or the company that I just did a cybersecurity bootcamp with. There you go. So also this just bugs me. I like to add a little spacing, body. Oh, and you can also, so say I wanted to change HTML. Maybe I don't need that spacing. It kind of looks a little too much, but I want it to be uniform. There we go. So if we did this one, background blue, see, and they call them cascading because whatever, so this overrides this. As you can see, we have a green value here. I could do a whole series on CSS and HTML. This is question generator. So this is JavaScript. And the reason I have this up is because we can pull, in fact, let's go to another one. Let's go to another, I don't want to save any changes. Let's go to another OSCS project. So now you can see we have the QA tips. I still need to do some work on that. It's not quite done. Python, artificial intelligence. I did some research into that. C#, I've got that. That's coming up soon. I'm going to start doing some tutorials on that. OS STEM math. Well, let's just do the main one. open source computer science. So this is my main color scheme for my web development projects. As you can see, here's some Arabic. That's one of my projects. I'm actually translating all these into other languages: Arabic, Spanish, possibly Russian, possibly German. I have quite a few colleagues from other countries that are willing to help me do this. But right now, I know Arabic is in the works and Spanish. Those are the main two. So just have some commented out here because I think that would just be a really cool challenge. A non-romantic language, or however you call it. I mean, the alphabet's completely different. I have no idea what any of this is going on. So I thought it would be fun to do. But anyways, this is my generic H or CSS that I've been using for all my projects. Let's go ahead and copy that, plop that down into here. So I want to override all that. And now we have basically a cloned open source computer science. So this is now, it now appears as if it belongs with this kind of series of projects. So let's see. I'm trying to think where to start with this. Because this is really linking two different things. We're doing a web development and we're doing JavaScript, which is technically web development too, but maybe I should have went ahead and built a base for all this. Hmm. Also, finish that sentence. What I was also going to work on is adding functionality to my open source computer science web pages that allows you to change the theme. Hmm. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Here's my random quote machine. This is where I already have the functionality working. So if you click this button, and be advised, this might hurt your eyes, and I apologize. Some of these color schemes are not the best. Yeah, like that one. That one's really bright. There's a Broncos theme, um, being from Colorado, but and then some. I guess it's kind of like a Packers theme. Anyways, I was just trying to do complementary colors, colors that are on opposite sides of the color wheel, like yellow and purple. That's more Vikings, but that's also, if you look at a color wheel, those colors are what you call complementary because they're across the color wheel. Anyways, this was just my basic attempt at creating different color schemes. So now, but this is what's doing it. So this little bit of code right here, this JavaScript, so we have, oh wow, we have switch statements. Okay, so switch statements exist in JavaScript. That's good to know because they don't in Python, which I found out. But granted, you don't really need them. They have dictionaries, but this is what you change. So I have quote box changes to orange, so I assume that's this. And if we go over to HTML, we could find, yeah, ID quote box. So that div or division is my quote box. So this is where the quote goes along with the authored quote. Um, and then that style, and then background color, that's how you change it. So, and then the style color changes the font color. So you'll notice this changed to blue. So the font color is blue. And basically, hmm, so this is switching on 5 different themes. What I want to do for my other stuff is I want it to have a little button here, maybe like a radio button. That's the one with the little round ones where you have to pick one and you can only pick one selection. Um, Basically using that as compared to the checkbox um, buttons is because if you're going with a theme, you only want there to be one theme. You don't want there to be any confusion, like having 2 themes selected. So you'd want a radio button. I'm trying to think. Do you have? Well, let's go ahead and drop this switch statement in there. I like this. So I'm gonna steal this or borrow this from my other project. Throw that into question generator. So there we go. That didn't actually change anything, but it now has some JavaScript linked into it. Um, and it has an error. What's the error? Oh, quote index. Okay, so I'm using a variable. Um, what do I have at modulo? That tells me it's a circular array thing. So I think I'm incrementing quote index somewhere. Like maybe every time you push this button. Let's see, click func for click function. So let's find ClickFunc in here. There we go. ClickFunc. If quote index equals obsArray.length, quote index equals 0. Okay, so that's confusing. This makes it circular as well. So if it, whatever I'm doing to increment quote index, if it reaches the max size, it forces it to be 0. So no matter what, it'll always be 0 through 5, 0 through 4. There's no fifth. That's interesting. Either way, these are two different methods. I don't know why I have two of them in here. Maybe there's a bug or something, but there's two methods to make an array circular. So, and by that I mean, regardless of what value you have for quote index, it will always pick a situation where quote index is really equal to 0 through 4 apparently. I guess I don't have a 5. It should be 0 through 5, because if you're modulating by 5, it's how many times 5 goes into that evenly. So say it's, well, 9. Well, you only have 0 through 5. Well, you modulo it, then you get the remainder of dividing it by 5, which is 4. So then quote index is 4, which is within the threshold. So say it was 99. Well, same thing. 5 goes into that, what is that? 1, like 10 is 50, and then 45 would be 9. It's some basic math. So you'd have it 19 times. And then, so it would take away all that, and it would just leave you with the remainder, which is, again, 4. So it would still be 4. It doesn't matter. You could have 9,999, and it'd still be 4. Whereas if you send it 5, oh, I see. Right, because 5 goes into 5 evenly. So if you're modding something, you want it to be the one element outside of your range. That's why I don't have a 5. Okay. And again, circular arrays are a little tricky for me. I often have bugs until I figure it out, but basically they're really good to know. So we have modded by 5. So if quote index was 5, it would change to 0, because 5 divided by 5 with a remainder, there is no remainder, so it becomes 0. Okay. Um, anyways, yeah, this might take a while to do. I know I said quote machine question generator here. Oh, let's go ahead and fix this error. So all we have to do that is just var quote index. Whoops. Let's just set it equal to 0. And do we need semicolons in JavaScript? It looks like we do. Let me look at, yes. So it is a lot, it's very similar to Java, where you have keyword, a variable name, set it equal to something, and then end every line with a semicolon. And then you also have the curly brackets. So we need to put that in. Or is that the error that is? Cannot read properties of null reading style. I don't know what that means, but let me go ahead and throw that in there. Does that change it? Let's put the error. Okay. But basically my idea for a question generator is I wanted to add functionality. Let's go ahead and let's go to Arco Math. That's what this is for. It's basically hand raised. My second project, helping grade school kids with online stuff, maybe games. You know, I hope to build like a new Math Blaster type game because I used to love playing that when I was in school. But let's go to Arco Math. So, okay, and this actually shows, yeah, this is kind of cool. This is why my formatting is just garbage with my web projects, because I'm constantly having to move these, so I can see all that, or CSS doesn't really get too lengthy, but HTML sure does. Like look at some of this, like this one. Just for that, I need to have all of these or not quantifiers, qualifiers, like all of these values for a name, a value, a type. So this line actually runs very long. And normally, used to terminal coding, like I do a lot of Vim and Linux stuff, you really want everything to be about this size because that's average about how big your terminal is. And anything bigger than that might confuse you and make you think it's another line. Like see right here, it squashed this and brought it over. Now you see that line number disappeared. So this is still technically line 28, but it's represented as two lines, but it just omits that line number. So see, it gets a little confusing. So when I'm making web development projects, I often don't do this. Like as you can see even here, not everything's lined up. Like in fact, I don't even have an HTML thing in here, but you have body, then a division, then everything in that division, and then oh look, you have an image. So really that should be over because that's contained within this div. Ooh, oh, for pro members. All right, sorry, I just noticed this little pop-up here. So if you have images, you can have, so I need to pay to use Codepen to do real web development. That's the next step. Is I want to actually make to make fully functional websites. You need to be able to have images, databases. I'm trying to think what else. But that's why I haven't really gotten too heavy into web development. Like I want to set up another environment where I have my own server, and I can control everything locally on my computer. But then after learning security, I realized that's a pretty scary concept too. So, because websites are basically like the main thing, the main way people hack into your stuff. Anyways, so yeah, so I just kind of abandoned it. But yeah, as far as formatting goes, I would move this there, keep all these lined up, and actually, is that, yeah, okay. These divs are the same. I commented this out. Oh, and then we have a form. I have a form? What? Okay, got it. Pro members do image stuff. Is this the form? So I have first name. That's weird. Hmm. Sorry, just re-exploring these older ones. Let's see. But basically, this is what I want. Well, and here's another version of that functionality to change the theme. So the saunter, walk is the same, but notice the inner problem changes. So let's actually make that bigger so we can see all of it. So if you go to saunter, you just have the very easiest 1 plus 1. Then walk, 2 plus 2. Power walk. And see, I need to change that too. It says qual. It still says the other ones for. This was code that I wrote back when I worked for KiwiCo, and that's how they do their kits. I briefly explained that in the last stream, but anyways, I need to change that. I want to change it to power walk, jog, run, sprint, and maybe even change the color schemes. I mean, I like these, but like, yeah, it's a little hard on the eyes. It could be better. But basically, I want to have buttons like this that change. So we have, actually, let's go ahead and just copy this. Let's borrow this, put it in our new thing. Uh, Within the body, I want to have some buttons. Now let's see. There we go. So now we have this, but we don't have any of the functionality on behind the scenes. So now we have the buttons, the HTML, but now we need JavaScript. So let's go back and look over here. So this calls switch brand. So I would look for the function. Oh wow. And even you need semicolons after the curly brackets. See, that's weird to me too. Um, so this is an object, but you still need a curly bracket at the end. All right. Anyway, so I have switch brand. This function, this whole thing. Well, and already I can tell there's going to be problems because this get element by ID, this is specific for this web brand or this website because we have, it's changing H1-1. That's a very specific ID that I created for for a header type 1 that I wanted to specifically change. So that's what if we were to, did I change anything? Check it out. Let's run it again and see what happens. So when you first land, it has a little welcome message. So that's what I initially set this to. Hello and welcome to the ARCO Interactive Math Application. So that's H1-1. We have a class of that, which is confusing. Interesting. Then if you go here, so we're looking at class H1-1. Huh, I don't even have a basic for here. I just have H1. Normally, see, these pound signs would be class or ID. I always get those mixed up. It's either a dot or a pound sign. Equate window solution. Let's find. That's an ID. Okay, so right here you can see the ID is the pound sign. Okay. So if I were to do like a dot here, it would only work for anything that had a class, like say h1-1, because we have a class called h1-1. We changed it to blue. But well, anyways, that is the difference between classes and IDs. And I don't actually can just control Z that. There we go. And one more. Oh, a couple more. There we go. Actually, not save that. Anyways, the whole point of this game was to make a question generator. Now, oh, and there's still an error. What is switch brand is not defined? Okay, so where's switch brand? Oh, I see. We didn't copy. How did I not get that? Okay, well, anyways, this is what I missed. So I only copied the switch statement. I didn't get this. So let's go ahead and plot that in. And already I know that's also going to cause an error because, oh geez. And now I would tab everything in. Oh, okay, actually that worked out. So we want everything contained. So that's the switch statement. And then we also need another curly bracket to close. Yeah, and see that's what it's saying. Unexpected end of input. Okay, so now we go down here, over one, curly bracket. Is there an error from that? Let's see. Okay, well, I was just curious because, do I need a semicolon at the end of that? Let's see on this one. Let's see about the closing. I did not. So maybe it's just an object thing. Or maybe it's just a typo. Maybe I'm not supposed to have semicolons at the end. Anyway, so the debugging is a little buggy, if you will, for Codepen. It's a little harder to um, debug with this, or well, with web development in general, because you don't have a fancy little terminal. You have to, in fact, that's why I made a terminal window for my calculator app, is because I wanted to see what it was changing to. So I was just constantly outputting a certain variable to. In fact, let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, so come on. There we go. Fcc Calculator. So that stands for Free Code Camp. So this was a project I was doing for Free Code Camp. See, and there's test. So here is my version of a terminal window. This little box. So I'm trying to remember. So if we push buttons, yes. So you can see times. So this keeps track of the buttons pushed, and it shows me what I have here. So these are the variable or the values that I have for a variable. I don't even remember what it's called, but yeah, there we go. Calc window. No, that wasn't it. What was it? My console. There you go. That sounds right. So check for operator. Okay, so I have a function here. Wow, this is so handy, actually being able to see this. I wish I had this for a few of my other streams when I was demoing this stuff. Maybe I'll have to go back and do another one where I show this stuff now that I can actually show it instead of pasting the links and saying, go check this out yourself. But, and this is my calculator. It's still not finished because if you notice, you do the equal sign, it doesn't equal. So you can clear it, and it takes it back to the original state, and you can push all the buttons. Why does it bounce? That's annoying. I didn't notice that. it oscillates. Interesting. With every button click, it resizes the calculator. Okay, so that's a bug that I would need to address. Yeah, oh wow, that's annoying. I never noticed that. Oh, and then interesting. I also need to put in some error handling. So say you just push a button. Jeez, oh that is so annoying how I'm seeing it. Right there. Now it should stop, cap it, but instead it runs over and it goes outside of the calculator. So that is a bug. Um, well, interesting that it adds a new line if you did something like that. Also, I need to fix this too. This is another bug. If you have, if you already have that, operators versus operators, so maybe they'll do that for a stream. Go back and do this. But let's see. Hmm, Well, anyway, sorry. Back to I digress. What I was going to do is I was going to make, let's actually go back to Arcomath. Um, I gotta go all the way back through again. See, I even have bugged normal. Let's go to the normal version. Basically, what I wanted to do for this stream is I wanted to build a JavaScript program that would generate math problems. So we have hard-coded math problems here. So the basic default, it starts as 2 plus 2. In fact, we can go ahead and find it right here. In the equate window, which is what I named this section of the website, I have 2 plus 2 and an equal sign. Then equate window solution is supposed to have 4. I don't know why it doesn't. Then I have a few different, oh, see, so like that's kind of buggy too. So I have a button here to check answer. I also have here. I want to make it to where if you push enter, it'll check to see if this is the correct answer. So say if I put 5, it would say, sorry, that is incorrect, try again, or something like that. This is the very basic level of that Math Blaster app. I wanted an interactive website where kids can come and practice their math. So this is the very basic, very starting out code for that. And then I have this, and notice it changes it to 1 plus 1. So it makes it the easier one for the easiest difficulty. And if you notice here, okay, so I have objects. I'm trying to remember which one I'm actually using. So here, yes, it is using the objects. Wonderful. So I have different objects that are supposed to stand for question objects. So I have equate 1, equate 2, equate 3, and so on, all the way to 7. Interesting. I never reached that because I don't have 7 options. I only have 6. But what I wanted to do for the question generator is I wanted to be able to generate questions dynamically. So the concept of this is, and well, what I would do is make a comment. Okay, so JavaScript, it comments just like Java, so it does the double slashes. And in Codepen, you can do control slash to make a comment so you can see the different ones. So like test. Oh wait, I don't want that. I need that commented out. Control slash. It does the comments. So this one is like a multi-line. It does the slash star and then the star slash to end it. Then this one, as you can see, there's some comments here. It does the HTML comment, which is an angle bracket, exclamation point, dash dash, and all of that just for the beginning of the comment. And the end of the comment is this dash dash angle bracket over here. All right, anyways, so when I'm coding something, when I'm getting down to it, I actually do this a lot. I get sidetracked. That's why it takes me a long time to do a lot of things. But anyways, if I'm making something, I would do what is known as pseudocode. I would kind of lay out a framework. So I would do create a loop to generate question objects. And even before that, so I'm just basically writing the blueprints of my code. And that might be all we get done. Uh-oh. Oh no. Did my stream crash? Sorry, I have my stream pulled up so I can see it. And it... Oh wow. Oh, is it because Twitch is trying to tell me things? Hmm. Anyways, so you're basically building the blueprints or the frame or the plans for your code. So what I wanted to do is create a loop to generate question objects. Now before that, I would also want to create question object. So basically what that means, we can even put it in parentheses. Oh no, don't put parentheses. For some reason those escape comments. See how it's white? That means it's not included in the comment. So certain things, you still got to account for. Basically I put that, so create question objects, uh, what attributes should a question object have? And then even here, I might even tab that over to show it's kind of like contained in that. Um, first number part, second number part, answer operator. I mix those up a lot, but basically, and let's look back at Arco math. So with these objects, this is what I was taking into consideration with a question object. Oh, go ahead and have this up too. So the differences to a question object. One, I just named them first, second, answer, and index. So we have an index to keep track of which question this is for use later. So when you want to pull these questions from a database or a file or however you're storing them, you want an index so you can identify it. So we'll need that. In fact, let me go ahead and put that back in our plan. So index. There we go. Then we have first number, second number, and an answer. Those are the main components to a question. As you can see here, you have your first number, your second number, and an answer. So these are the things that you're going to want to be able to keep track of and also change. And so when I say a question generator that dynamically generates questions, basically what I want to do is I want to make this loop and I want to make it create simple math problems, and I want to do it for addition, subtraction. So in fact, let me uh I don't know where it goes. So, but I do want to make a note. Um, make functionality for add, subtract, multiply, and that may have to come later. We might want to make sure that it works first on just addition problems. But it wouldn't be that hard to change. I already know. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. There are a couple of places you would need to change the code to change it to make or to create subtraction. I don't even know if that's the correct term. Subtraction, like difference problems, addition, subtraction, whatever. The subtraction problems. To change it to that, you would need to change how you print it. So let's look back at our example here. We have 6 plus 6. Okay. And we don't even have the answer. So we do have a spot for it, and we do have an answer saved, so we can check the student or really any user. This is, not really age specific. Anybody can use these websites, but I mean, it's intended for grade school kids, but honestly, if you're just bad with math and you want some practice, yeah, fine, go ahead and use it. But basically, you want the answer stored so you can check the answer against what the user inputs. So say I input, 42. Well, that's the answer to the question of meaning of life, but that is not what 6 plus 6 equals. So there, we have the user input, which is incorrect, and we would need to check that against, let's actually pull up the correct one. Here we go. So this is equate 6, or the equate 6 has the same values as what I have for the default for, what are we on? Sprint, the hardest difficulty. Huh. Sorry, it's giving me updates. Anyways, so you need to store the correct answer so you'll know if the user is correct or not. And then you can handle that accordingly. You can tell them, no, sorry, that's not correct, please try again. Or if they do give the correct answer, you want to give them a little success message and a little confirmation letting them know that they got the correct answer. So you need to have these values saved. So you need the first operand, the operator, second op. In fact, let's even go ahead and put that. Well, do we need to store it? So I hesitate with that because, like we said here, make functionality for the different types of math problems. You could store this, or you can handle this a couple of different ways. I mean, the one that jumps out to me right away is to create um, four different data structures that would store one for addition problems, one for subtraction problems, one for multiplication problems, and one for division problems. That's probably the way that I would go about it, because if you want to access that or use those problems, I think it'd just be easier to say, oh, I want a subtraction problem. So I'm going to pull from the subtraction data structure, whether it's a graph or list, or I don't even know. I think lists are what JavaScript uses. Sorry, that's one of the dangers of jumping back and forth between like Python, Java, JavaScript. Not everything's the same, but whatever data structure, that's what we'll stay generic. So we have a data structure, and it could also be a file or a database. So I mentioned those earlier. A big thing about that, and basically databases are just one big file. I mean, some people might get upset about that, but that's what it is. At the end of the day, it is a group of data saved to a name that you can access different parts of. So it is still basically a file. And in Linux, everything is a file, which I love, because then you don't have to deal with all the compatibility. Everything in a file is a file. Anyways, I digress. But so we're creating these question objects, and we want to put them somewhere. We want to keep them separate. So, and the reason for that is, say we go back here, and part of the functionality to be, all right, so Saunter, just addition problems, and just low level, low value addition problems. Now walk, we're getting a little more complex, so maybe that's still just addition problems, but maybe we use bigger numbers, maybe double digit numbers, who knows? Maybe make them, start to carry the one, doing, making things more complex. And then say you go to power walk, you're increasing the difficulty again. All right, so let's throw in some subtraction problems, but then maybe let's scale it back to just single digit problems, but have subtraction in there too. So there's a lot of different ways that you can customize this type of program. But in just, it's really important to have this functionality, to have these different difficulties. And then once you have this, then it's just a matter of connecting your HTML to your JavaScript. So so when I click one of these, it automatically defaults it to, in fact, let's see, where is that? Yeah, right here. So when we click this one, so I still have the old one, I can change the names. And yeah, Cricket Newport can ND, because that was the thing. It forces it to be 1+1. However, we also have these variables changed. That's a little confusing too. Yes, I do have variables. So that's very confusing. So I have objects with the variables contained within them, and then I have global variables where I guess you could say I didn't really finish this to the point where, well, it's far from finished. A lot of it needs to be finished, but I left it with options. You can either change these values based on a global variable, which we do. I mean, we change the global variable here. And actually, or you can change the object and then pull the values from the values contained within the object. So say now we're working with equate 1. So that, the first equation, the first object, and that has contained within it this part, and what this is supposed to be. And then it also has an index. So this is the very first one, index 0, because everything's 0 based. Yes. So, you can do it a couple of ways. That's why I left this in there. And oftentimes I'll just comment this out if I'm not using it anymore. Like you'll see here, I have some divisions here that I was using, and then I decided to go with something else. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to completely remove it, so I'll often, until the program's done or finished, I'll often leave these comments in here in case I change my mind and say, actually, I liked how the other way worked better, so let's go back to that. That's huge in web development. That's why I use Codepen, because it's on the fly. Like if I change something, just hit save or run, and it'll update down here. So, anyway, let's see. Jeez, yeah, we've almost done a whole hour. And basically just talking about Codepen. That's fine. Because I'd really, maybe I'll do another stream after this appointment. I don't know how long it's going to run, but maybe then we'll actually get to building the question generator. But this is a good first part. So you get your blueprints, you get your parts, your what you want to build. So this is the idea. We want to make, or actually we could even do purpose of program. What is the purpose of this program? So to dynamically create questions to be used in hand raise app. So again, this is just a small part of a project that I want to do later that I'm calling, or our original one 3 years ago was KiwiCo. But since that's a company and copyright and all that, I changed it to Arco, my initials company. Now it's hand raise. Anyways, so you want to basically lay out your objectives, the purposes. So to dynamically create questions, maybe even elaborate on that. Let's put that in here. So generate several questions. I'm trying to think of a better way to put that. So my idea is to demonstrate loops and how you loop through a number set or a set number of numbers and then using those numbers in the questions. So it would go through and create every single permutation of question objects. Could say combination, but permutation would be like, if you're doing the combination, it would be 2 plus 1 is the same as 1 plus 2. You're using the same values just in a different order. Whereas permutations ordering matters, so 2 plus 1 is different from 1 plus 2, which in reality, that is a different question. Even though it has the same answer, you're phrasing it differently, and that forces the kids or whoever's learning to think differently. Like, oh, that's the commutable property, I believe, in computer science, where you change the order. No, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But the idea is this question is different from 1 plus 2 is different from 2 plus 1 because you want to pull that, and by changing the order of it, you're changing. If you look back here, the value for first is different, the value for second is different, answer is the same, and index is different. So really it is a unique question. It's a different question object that needs to be separate. Well, I say that, or if you wanted to do it a little differently, you could also randomize first and second based on, say, a random number and then modding it by 3. So it's either 1 or 2. So it's either this way or this way. You can do it that way. And then you could basically double your question objects, or you could double your amount of questions from the same number of question objects by reversing the order, thus creating a different question. Because it appears different, it might trick students, they might get a little confused, but it's useful to change the order to show, oh yeah, that's the same. I mean, you're just changing the order, so they recognize that, and that's important. Yeah, actually, I kind of like that too. So, and again, during this plan, everything's set in stone. Like this doesn't have to be, if I don't make this way, it fails. It's a failure. Like I scrap the project. No, it's still useful, and that's why I keep all these web development projects around. Is because I have little pieces. Like now I have all these buttons. They don't do anything, but I don't have to go back and reprogram these buttons. So, and I really should do a bunch more of that. Well, let me one of the biggest things, and that's also what I was going to do in this stream, but yeah, we're already close to an hour, and we haven't done any of that. We've just done the blueprints. So never mind. I'll stay on topic another 7 minutes. Then I got to go to my thing. So, oh no. Oh geez. There's all this stuff going on. I have a lot of reminders because this is a rather weird, strange time, and everything's in Eastern time for these people because their offices are in New York, and then they have a bunch of classes on the West Coast. Now they're starting to expand to Mountain Time, but they hate it. It's kind of funny. But anyways, uh, yeah, we're in the middle of the day, so if people were working jobs, they wouldn't be able to attend this if they're trying to change their career. It's kind of funny. But all right, let's see. Cannot read properties of null reading style. Ah, I think I know what this is. There is no quote box, just like there is no the body, and that's different from body. Not to be confused. I mean, if you, and that's why I did it. It's supposed to be similar. So the body. Let's find that. Where did I put it? Okay, actually, that's just weird. I gave an ID to the body tag saying the body. I guess because I was having troubles changing it. Now that I look at it, it was probably an issue with how it's cascading. I was trying to change it, not seeing the changes happen. So I probably tried to force it changing by changing the ID tag instead of just changing this. Well, yeah, you can see. So if I change this to yellow and then run it, I don't think it'll change. No, it does. Okay, that's weird. Well, whatever. For some reason, I added an ID. I don't have it in here. You'll notice my actual CSS is rather stripped. I don't have any of these IDs or, I mean, I do have brand logo, equate window. And again, I don't know if that's ID or class. I want to say that's ID. Yeah, ID, equate window, but it could be class. If it's not one, it's the other. That's my little fix for trying to figure out that. But where was I going? Oh yeah, I was going to show you my open source computer science. That's, in fact, let's go ahead and do that because that is one thing I'm going to do a stream on. And I'm trying to keep these YouTube friendly too. So I want to copy this video over to YouTube. So after 14 days, because I'm not affiliate yet, it just doesn't disappear. But if you look at open source computer science, or really any, but let's go to the main one. Here we go. The thing that I want to fix is this ugly navigation bar. Let's go ahead and take a look at it here. This is just hideous. You can tell they're links, but I want them to be more like buttons. I think. I don't know. I think this looks really good. You can click these different buttons. They're in line. It's all up to personal preference. Like, there's so many different ways to do navigation bars. You could also do what's called a hamburger menu, which is the little three dashes or cheeseburger. It's called by both, where you click it and then it expands to show you options. That's a way to do it, but that's very complicated and it involves adjusting the positioning of like your body. It moves it over to make that window. So, little fun fact. Or actually, you could do it one of two ways. Never mind. Sorry, let's scratch that because if you click the hamburger menu, you could choose to make it move over, which is the cleaner version. So you're not losing any of your visibility of the site. In my opinion, it's cleaner. It just depends on your preference. You can also have it overlap it so it expands. You're seeing that, but you're not seeing what's behind it. So different preferences. But I do know that I want to change this. And I do know I want to add functionality to change the theme. So those are the two main things that I want to do with this. And that is done through JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. You need all three to communicate together effectively. So we might do a stream just on that. Just an episode, a stream, video. And it might take a full hour for each of those too, because just changing this, that's web develop or web design. It's not my favorite thing because you're adjusting these things in the CSS to make it appear different. You get your margin, your padding. If you can see, I have a lot of this commented out. So I was changing things, liked it, didn't like it, changed it back, change it, all that stuff. So it's a good habit to be able to do that, so you can go back and forth. yeah, and then maybe I'll even stream changing this into Arabic. It's really easy. It's just a matter of, well, I put this in here. If you want to change a paragraph to Arabic, you just add this little bit of code. Lang equals AR. I don't remember what this does, but language Arabic. I think that's as easy as it is. Um, and then the rest of this is just inline style. Like you could put this in the CSS. That's style, color, size, that. Interesting. Oh, okay, it doesn't. Interesting. I forgot a double quote there, but no, there's the double quote. So all of this is contained within that one style um, label, or you can put it here, or you can put it outside of this and put it in its own section. There's a lot of versatility with development, a lot of things to keep track of. So, anyways, I got to get to my appointment, but that was some JavaScript fun, or really just some JavaScript theorizing. Like, we're just kind of planning what we want to do. We still have, oh yeah, we figured out what that is. Sorry, that always bugs me seeing the little error thing, but we have a good starting point. We have some ideas for functionality, for what we want this to do. I mean, we have a goal, a clearly defined goal. We want to generate questions. Now, how do we want to do that? We can do question objects. We can do question. Um, I think question objects is the way I want to go because I want to be able to work with that to pull. Say, it'll make it cleaner down the line. Trust me. But yeah, and then I want to make a loop to generate a ton of these things, like to where I can adjust the limit. Say I want 1,000 questions. Well, I'm going to do the first 500 first parts, first 500 second parts, or maybe even just the first 1,000 numbers. Just do 1 plus 1 all the way through 1,000 plus 1,000. That's an idea. And then we could do like I was saying earlier and double that by adding functionality to reverse the order. So first appears second and second appears first, thus making it a new question, but using half of the objects. So again, these little things, you can optimize your algorithm. And that's basically what this is. This is an algorithm on how to make questions, how to add different questions to be used later. Because again, this is just the question generator. We're not even doing like the actual math application. This is just something that, and if you make a JavaScript file, you can include that in your HTML. Just a simple, like include. I forget what it is, or no, it's a script, and then you put file path, both of those, in here. Where is the script? And then you would pull that script from your files and then plop it in there. So when a browser goes to this website, it'll see, oh, it has a script. Let's pull that script, put it there, and then, so you don't have to type all this and put it in here every time. The computer will just know to include it there. Basically the same as any of the programming languages when you do an include, import, not necessarily extend, because that's more inheritance, but anyways, yeah. So that's how you would do it with HTML, but that makes it portable. There you go. That's what I was trying to think of. So you can make a JavaScript file. Like this would be saved as a file and then kept in the directory that I have all my website files in. And then I could change it here. Like, do I want this script? Or maybe I write a different script so I could do it one of two ways. Then I would just change it here, control right here of which JavaScript you want to include in your program. So, all right, well, anyways, thanks for stopping by, and that is a brief overview of what I want to do for a project. So we have this, let's scroll back up there with this, ready to go. Maybe I'll try to hop on later today and actually do this. So, could be fun, could be frustrating, but could be fun. Because yeah, I haven't actually written JavaScript for several years, so it would be good to refresh my memory. All right, well, that's all for now. I will see you all next time. Thanks for stopping by.